I had an idea come to me today that
Just one.
yeah, this is the idea of the day. That I know people have been interested before about our family Bible study that we do with the kids in the morning.
Yep.
So I kind of had an idea of why don't we just do. I've been wanting to do more. We've got the series in Matthew that we're doing that we're still going to do,
study,
and it's been really fun to do, and it seems like all 5 of you. Just kidding. There's been more, but it seems like there's been a lot of people enjoying it, a lot of interaction with it. So it's definitely humbling. We appreciate it, and I mean, glory to God. But I had an idea that we would just take our family study that we did in the morning, and we would kind of just do a quick afternoon Bible study with it, where it'd be just be really quick, not our fully, drawn out study, if I can help it. But
every day we must be in the Word.
Yes, and I know it's difficult for people to sit down and listen to these long ones. So I definitely would like something that would be really quick that people could just kind of. And I thought it'd be cool just to kind of share what we've been, talking about personally at our table. We're going to start you off in a really, really hardcore random spot.
But this is where we're at.
But this is where we're at, and this is what happened. And I'll try to do some quick little build up for it real quick here. We're going to go ahead and start. We're in Isaiah, and our kids love Isaiah. This is about the 3rd, 4th time as a family we've read through the whole book. And that's the way we start. We start from beginning to end. We do 3 chapters every morning. That's full interaction. The kids ask questions. That they're so smart in the way of they know, they want to know the time that this occurred. Where at in Israel did this occur? Who is king in Israel? Who is, in Isaiah specifically, who is Isaiah? What is this prophecy saying? Who's he speaking to? Is he speaking? And obviously. Anyway.
Well, there's an application. They want to know the application to right then and there. What's he talking to? And then how does this apply to us today?
Right.
And that's a point that I want to share that I think you do a really good job at as we do read through Scripture. What was the application in the past time that this was talking about? And what is the way, how can we apply this still to today? Have these prophecies been fulfilled? Have we ever seen this happen? Is this something we're still waiting on, or, different things? And you're really good with that. And they enjoy looking for those things because you do have to be able to look at and decipher, these things.
And one thing that just to me is tragic, and I have seen in social media specifically on comments and different videos, and there seems to be a lot of people that think that the Old Testament is not applicable, or that it's people just are like, oh, that was to the Jews way back then. That doesn't even talk about us, or that doesn't even speak to us. And it just kind of baffles me, and especially going through Isaiah. And in the way that this thought came to me is because I came down here to do just kind of my own thing earlier this afternoon, and I was reading Romans. But after I was reading Isaiah this morning, I was thinking, that's what I was thinking of was Romans, when Paul's talking about, it's Romans 11, but Paul's talking about how the Gentiles have been grafted into the olive tree, and that we're one, and that this still. So because it gave me that thought of when Isaiah is talking about the Lord in Isaiah is talking about God's people, my people.
Yes.
Okay.
So if we've been grafted
in, we're God's people. Now, we are to the promise, right? The church, because the Gentiles, and the fact that we accepted Christ.
We have not replaced his people, the Jews.
Right, we have not. We have been grafted in. We are a branch. We can easily be broken off. Right, he made space for us. so we could be on there, but he easily could take us off.
Because we have not replaced
because we have not replaced his people. Definitely not. And that doesn't mean that every single prophecy in Isaiah is speaking to us as a church. It's not. But obviously we know that we have the kingdom promises that Israel was promised, and ultimately Israel along with us. We talk about what a joy is, how great of a time is that going to be when God's people finally accept Christ, right? I mean, that's new heaven, new earth. This is it. This is what
really cool stuff.
What
to
we're
be looking forward to.
all waiting for, honestly, to happen. So this kind of, but when in Isaiah, these kingdom promises that he's talking about, very, very applicable to the God's people part. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these prophecies aren't speaking towards times of the end. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of giving you a general, and then speaking of general view of the people and what their sins are, what they're doing to upset God, and so is the case in Isaiah. So too often we don't pay attention to the Old Testament and just think it's not applicable to us or not applicable to. And as we were reading this morning, I was just like, it kept hammering into my head, and I was like, guys, this is us. This here, not every little detail, but
the scope is one we can apply to our lives,
right? And as far as the people, and just the world in general, very applicable. I'll go ahead and let you read Isaiah first.
So we're going to read Isaiah 58. I'm reading the NLT translation.
Yeah, because this is what we do in the morning. I study in the ESV. So these will be, though, in the NLT, because that's what we do with the kids. Mm-hmm. It flows a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit easier for them to understand. But they each have their own ESV Bible, and they each... Lily reads out of the ESV quite a bit.
We have multiple translations, so that way we can always be using and cross-referencing and how things do things, study deeper into the meaning of root words, things like that. And then, of course, if you have your Bible app on your phone, you can switch. But
for me, for the kids, for the way that it flows and that sticks closest to that is definitely the NLT is what we do in the morning. So. If that confuses anybody, I'm sorry, but these quicker ones will be NLT, and then the short or the longer ones that we do will be in the ESV. So,
and of course, if you do not have a hard copy Bible and you would like one, go ahead and shoot us an email at aphomechurch@gmail.com, and we will get you one. So let us know if you need one. Because I know sometimes it's nice you can get a free one on your phone or something like that. But if you need an actual physical Bible, everybody needs to have a physical Bible. Let us know. We will get you one. Are you done messing around in your drawer making a bunch of notes?
I am so sorry I did that.
Isaiah 58. Shout with the voice of a trumpet blast. Shout aloud. Don't be timid. Tell my people Israel of their sins. Yet they act so pious. They come to the temple every day and seem delighted to learn all about me. They act like a righteous nation. That would never abandon the laws of its God.
Okay, let me just stop you real quick right there. So this quicker one isn't going to be a little bit longer just because I got one. But, yeah, this is definitely, obviously, talking about Israel going to the temple. But let's take this for what this means for today. What do you say? What it means for today. Look at verse 2. Yet they act so pious, they come to the temple every day and seem delighted to learn all about me. They act like a righteous nation that would never abandon the laws of its God. They ask me to take action on their behalf, pretending they want to be near me.
Who does that sound like?
What does that sound like? That sounds exactly like us specifically. This is American Christians.
Yeah. We go to church every Sunday. We seem delighted to learn. We act like a righteous nation.
Yeah, we act like we're a righteous nation. God bless America is this idea that we have, and that this is a Christian nation. And so we act like that would never abandon the laws. We would never do that. But yet look at the compromises that we have made. I consistently talk about the compromises that we've made in politics, with society, with everything. Okay, these compromises, if you're going to, God doesn't compromise. So if you're going to compromise, you fit right in here. You say, oh, you seem like you're like you want to know God, but continue on and we'll see what he says about that.
They asked me to take action on their behalf, pretending they want to be near me. Verse 3. We have fasted before you, they say. Why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves and you don't even notice it. I will tell you why, I respond. It's because you are fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. What good is fasting when you keep on fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me.
Now, granted, we don't do fasting.
Some people do.
Some people do. But his point here is you're making this big image out of God, and this big righteous image that you're pouring out there, but there's no substance. There's nothing to what you're actually doing. And your behavior is proving it.
Are we oppressing workers? Fighting
quarreling?
And
quarreling? And that's consistent. Where do you think that you're going to get anywhere with God by doing those things? Where do you think that? Keep on.
Verse 5. You humble yourselves by going through the motions of penance, bowing your heads like reeds bending in the wind. You dress in burlap and cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord?
Well, you go through the motions. We're Sunday Christians, right?
Largely as a nation.
Largely. Yeah. Not all of us. Largely as a nation. And I found that this is a lot of what the people that have come to us seem to be the people that are having trouble in leaving the modern world, as far as I know. We've had plenty of prayer requests of feeling pulls to leave, to get out of the rat race, to feel just pulled out of it, much like we were. I'm definitely not saying that that's not, that that's for everybody. I've said that 100 times before, but and it's not. But as we get to these places, now is the time that we really have to start questioning what we are doing, and if we are glorifying God, because we're in a time that clearly is.
Well, we claim to be a Christian nation, and hashtags for, prayers for Texas, prayers for whatever are huge, but what are we actually doing? Right? We'll happily say these things with our mouths. We'll go through the motions.
And then I seen some of the stuff that y'all post.
Yeah.
And I'm like, not you. I'm talking
but
about this, but not but
average Christian.
I think most of our listeners will know that they've got plenty of people on their friends feed that this is the exact same thing, that they see the exact same thing. But this is to give them more just encouragement to know that you do look like when you stand up for these type of things, you do look like an idiot to them, because but we also have to remember that the world's wisdom
because we're not just swimming upstream against the world, it's even swimming upstream against the modern American church,
right?
Because it's
such a worldly system, and now largely. The church largely the church is just ingrained in this whole worldly mess. And so now you can refer to them, when I talk about these things, largely I'm referring to a definitely worldly church. That lukewarm, that has been spit out. You go through the motions. You're pretending to do all these things, but you're far from it.
So verse 6. No, this is the kind of fasting I want. Free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free and remove the chains that bind people. Share your food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them and do not hide from relatives who need your help. I feel like those two verses list out the majority of what we're told not to do.
Oh, well, yeah, those are always the thing that God says here. You want to fix this? These are the things that you need to do. Not do those things.
Yeah.
And if you don't do those things, I'll be happy. And this isn't going to get this isn't even political. This is just in general. I mean, let the oppressed go free, remove the chains that bind. I mean, Jesus talked about the religious leaders that their bar was so far up here. Mm-hmm. It was like nobody will ever be able to reach this.
But even quite literally, we know what is it, like 32%? We have the largest incarcerated population in the entire world. America has the largest population of people within the prison system, and we know it's something like 32% or something like that. We know are innocent that were wrongly imprisoned. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you look at even stuff like quite literally,
and then we,
and nobody cares about that.
But take these issues honestly, especially, and I don't want to turn this into a super long one, but these issues honestly, like, let's take a look at the, the prison system.
Yeah.
Let's look at that. The correctional facility, they're not correctional facilities. The way that the whole thing, the way that it's set up is a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that I understand all the arguments against it. That still doesn't mean it's a disaster and that it's horrible and set up terrible. And it's set up to oppress, not to. And these are the types of things that he's talking about. And that's what these things do. I'm not saying that criminals are being oppressed because of the prisons and I'm some liberal left. And that's the way that usually that any of the opponents will go is automatically to the liberal left. Like that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying here is that these types of things aren't set up to correct anybody, and they're not set up to the system just in general. We can see it's impossible. We know personally in our own lives people that have completely turned their lives around, that want to turn their lives around, that that can't. They've gone to good school, college, had degrees, got caught up in some things now that have ruined their lives and that have forced them to work minimum wage jobs for the rest of their lives.
From a nonviolent mistake in their life.
Is that justice? Absolutely not, because you're setting up somebody for failure with that. And do you know how many people that we failed because of that? I mean, the numbers, you can see it. You can see it in the world. You can see our failures in society all over the place. This is what he's talking about. You're not that far removed from this. Granted, this is not a prophecy. Isaiah was not prophesying to the United States of America in 2019. That's definitely not what he was doing. Yeah. He was prophesying God's word to Israel. However, this is why I made the point of us being grafted in and this applying in a general sense to all of us as God's people.
Well, if the shoe fits, I mean, you sit here and you read some of the stuff. If the shoe fits,
and that's my point for bringing in that, is that if the shoe does fit, then you have to wear it. This isn't he's not. Who do you think he's talking about here? Oh, he's just talking to Israel this time. No, he's talking. This is something that, like you just said, that we see over and over and over again. These things. Go ahead. I don't want to make this too long.
And I will just note here. I hate to recommend this person, but it was fantastic, and it goes right along all these things that we're literally talking about right here. Michael Moore's documentary, Where to Invade Next, you can get it online. It is, there might be a couple things, I don't know if it's necessarily family friendly, but it was very eye-opening in many ways to look at
now
other countries.
let us clarify, because Michael Moore was a topic of extreme dislike in my house personally.
Oh yeah.
I cannot stand the man.
Yeah.
We do.
Oh, he's
definitely
not like some kind of like
right
Christian crusade or anything like that. No.
And nor do I. When I used to be hardcore conservative before I knew better, he was my arch enemy.
Yeah.
And I still don't like the dude. I still, like I said, if I was going to be anything, I'm libertarian at the core, you know. And so Michael Moore is definitely not my friend, but that specific documentary that he did, even though I fell asleep towards the end of it.
Yeah, and that's why I said it, because I actually watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when it comes to these topics, it is really good. Again, I don't remember if it was completely friendly, but if you're interested in those topics, it is really good. All right, so I'm going to start at 7 again, because again, this is it telling us God saying, you want to do these things. That was us
just having a ignorant view of the rest of the world, and not thinking that we applied anything else.
So verse 7 here, again, this is God telling us, you want to honor me, you want to do these things, here you go. Share your food with the hungry, and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them, and do not hide from relatives who need your help. Verse 8, then your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Then when you call, the Lord will answer. Yes, I am here. He will quickly reply. Remove the heavy yoke of oppression. Stop pointing
I'm sorry. We also know from New Testament scriptures that prayers can be hindered because of your stupid butt. If you decide to ignore God, He'll ignore you. So that right there, when he says that, don't think that doesn't apply to us. Go ahead.
Remove the heavy yoke of oppression. Stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. Verse 10. Feed the hungry and help those in trouble. He keeps going back to this. You see, it's like a reoccurring theme with him, what he wants us to spend our time and attention and resources.
And what could I wonder what allegorically he could mean by feeding the hungry and the homeless. I wonder. The hungry and homeless spiritually, who don't know God, who need God. I did not put my phone on.
I'm shaking my head at him right now, you guys.
Sorry.
Rude.
What?
You good now?
I am. You go ahead.
Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and darkness around you will be as bright as noon.
That's such an important word.
Then.
This requires work. Okay, this isn't...
Works will save you.
Works will save you. But you notice how he says then.
If you are God's children,
you'll do these things. There's certain fruit that you will produce. And then this will happen.
Verse 11. The Lord will guide you continually, giving you water when you are dry and restoring your strength. You will be like a well-watered garden, like an ever-flowing spring. Some of you will rebuild the deserted ruins of your cities. Then you will be known as a rebuilder of walls and a restorer of homes. Keep the Sabbath day holy. Don't pursue your own interests on that day, but enjoy the Sabbath and speak of it with delight as the Lord's holy day. Honor the Sabbath in everything you do on that day, and don't follow your own desires to talk idly. Then the Lord will be your delight. I will give you great honor and satisfy you with the inheritance I promised to your ancestor Jacob. I, the Lord, have spoken.
Yeah, he doesn't want practices, fancy little play, or anything like that. He wants you to keep his Sabbath and understand what that means. And he doesn't require all these things that you think that you have to do, all this poised show that we have of acting like it, and being so attached to this world and just being so proud of.
Well, it all comes down to your heart yet again, because if your heart is wrapped up in the things of this world, then that's where it's incredibly evident where someone's heart is. I don't care what your mouth is saying to me, right? You can say all the pretty words and all the things. What do your actions show? Well, they show me where your heart truly lies. And if all I see from your actions are things involved in the ways of this world, well, that's where your heart is. So are we really feeding the hungry? Are we really giving homes to the homeless? Are we really, helping those that are lesser, that are being held down by the yoke of the system? Because Christ's burden is not heavy. It is light. So
and this
let's
is
that.
This is in the church, spreading the gospel while doing these things and being, overwhelming people with this. Are we doing this? Absolutely not.
Well, I feel like we love to say, even within the church, I feel like a lot of it is just lip service. Oh, I'll pray for you. Oh, I'll do this. No, what can I physically do to help you?
Yes. I don't want to.
Let's fix this. Let's get you going.
That's one thing that we've definitely talked about that we want to do, is get some sort of,
we'll get to that.
But
we'll explain that in a different one because it'll take us a while.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
I think just encouraging that, what God isn't saying here, he's not giving a list of things going, hey, what are you doing? Why don't you put up more billboards? Why don't you, make more of this or do that? He's saying things, and these are all things that we all can quite literally do every day.
But see, what my point here today was that we act like there's two different. I use America because obviously we're
that's what
claim that we're the largest
Christian
nation.
Yeah.
Out there, and Israel being God's Israel being God's people that he put his, obviously Christ is a Jew, so we know we can kind of get this picture that maybe the United States and Israel, we can just get this idea that we're God's people. Sure. Because the size of the church, and Israel, once they are saved and once they come to the saving knowledge of Christ, once, that's why I brought up Romans, once this olive tree is won and we've got the new heavens and new earth and everything's awesome, then you put those two together. So you put those two ideas together. So when he's speaking of God's people, we have to think of our way of life and how we're doing things and the things that are affecting us in our society, the issues that we're seeing, the issues that we're dealing with. Those are definitely applicable, and you have to view yourself as basically the same. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of dancing around saying that the United States should be referenced as Israel. That's not what I'm saying, because it's not. But I'm just saying as being God's, we claim to be, and we're God's people. I mean, I think, I do think that our country specifically, this is my personal thought comes in, is I think our country specifically, definitely the Lord had a plan. I mean, what our country has done you can see obviously he did.
Yeah.
But he did to build a church, and that's what I believe that our country's purpose was, is to even build the church larger. I mean, look at what the things that America's produced, and we've done lots of horrible, terrible things that are very regrettable because we're human and we fall, and that's what we do. But you can definitely see that God set apart a different nation for a different purpose. Now, the nation itself doesn't mean anything. We're followers of Christ, and we're believers in, this is God. So it's the same God as Israel. So this is what makes it kind of unique in the situation where nothing about America matters. It's about being God's people. But there's like an actual ethnic, like literal place that matters, that happens to be the home of where God's people will eventually end up being. And that's not here. So, but anyway, to make that point, that's the point that I'm trying to give people the idea that you have to think of yourself as one in that way. And then a lot of the Old Testament will come to life. I mean, obviously, don't get Torah observant from it, but I think when you think of that, you go, wow, these prophets that had no idea what they were prophesying, no idea what they were seeing, they had no idea in the Old Testament, because you need the New Testament to put in that final picture, that final piece of the puzzle to understand everything. You can see all these things come to life, and you can start seeing Christ. You can start seeing where God's people and promises come in. You know, you can see the kingdom. You can see all of these things. So that's why I pointed people back to Romans 11 to give them just kind of that idea. Not to say that we are Jews and we're, you know, like anything like that. And then our family study.
Well, and that's why I love the explanation of, like, we are the stepchildren, we are the children adopted in, and we'll still get the inheritance. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that's a great illustration of it as well.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
so
if
I think
we stop talking, this is 30 minutes.
Okay, see? And in the future, we'll try to keep them around 20, 30 minutes. This one was just kind of a first time.
Look at us. We did it. So we hope you guys are having an awesome day. Hopefully you'll kind of dive in here to Isaiah, and that will be something that is good for you guys. And we're going to come back every day with one of these. So,
we do, like I said, our family does 3 chapters. I don't think we'll do 3.
We'll see what happens with
we'll
the
just
context.
we'll just see what happens, and we'll just kind of sum it up.
But I'll post the 3 that our family read each day, so that way you guys can follow along if you would like.
Yep.